How you doing? Duff here, and I'm ready for another frustrating project. I had a really frustrating one yesterday where I replaced the case on my Gotway M Super electric unicycle. I'm not in frame. And today I'm going to try to install an EZABL self-leveling kit on my CR-10 behind me. I got the kit from Timothy Hoogland, and I also got a new system board from Time Machines 3D, which has the updated firmware and a bootloader. So I'm going to install that first. Alright, so before installing the new system board, obviously you need to disconnect the cables from the back, disconnect power. I'm going to remove my spool holder, and I think if what I saw is correct, you gotta flip it upside down. Yeah, gotta flip it upside down and remove the screws in the bottom. I was hoping these screws would be Phillips, but no such luck. Maybe. So let me get these out and I'll be back. You know, part of me is reluctant to do this because generally speaking, I have been getting some pretty reliable prints off my CR-10. I really haven't had any major problems with leveling. So, you know, like, part of me is just like, why not leave well enough alone? But all right, well, I take the bottom off and I see the power supply. So I'm not sure why I need to take the bottom off. Let me take the top off. It looks like there isn't a way to really take the top off. I think I need to take these sides off next, because this is what holds the, looks like this holds the power supply in from the side. So let me get these 4 screws out and see what we can do next. Okay, 4 screws out. Okay, here comes the power supply. Okay, and I don't know if you can see that. There's the system board nestled in the bottom. Okay, so I need to take all these connectors off, and I need to pay attention to what goes where, huh? That makes sense. So let me start on that. Okay, the ribbon cable for the display is pretty self-explanatory. It's the only cable like that, so I'm not too worried about that one. But a bunch of these wires here, left to right, they're all the identical type connector. So I kind of want to do a one-to-one swap of these, and I need to remove. Let's see if I can get this off. And of course that's too big. Yeah, I want to get these power supply lines off first because they're going to be kind of a pain. I'm also going to do something that I wish I would have done yesterday when I did all that work on my electric unicycle, and that is take a picture as a visual reference, just in case I would need it. Hopefully I won't, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. These power connectors, they're just screw down terminals. I should be able to just loosen these up, and they should come out. Yeah, this could be real problematic. I think I want to take the board out and then just move. I'm going to just move the connectors over one at a time, just to be safe, because the last thing I want to do is fry something. Okay, let's do that. Okay, from what I'm seeing, I believe there are a total of 4 bolts that hold the system board down. Just very carefully removing each one, keeping my bolts separated as to where they came from. All right. I'll be back when things get more interesting. Okay, got my 4 bolts out. Now this should be free to move somewhat. Oh yeah, okay. Got a zip tie there that's holding it. So let me. How am I going to do this? Okay, so those wires are zip tied down so they don't move freely. I could cut them, but I'd rather not. Alright, let me evaluate my plan of action here. Okay, so I've evaluated my plan of action and I've decided I am going to cut these zip ties, and then I'll just put some new ones in there. Easy enough. Let's see how much freedom that gives me. No, there's another one down there. Right. It looks like there's a total of three zip ties down here. course you want to do this without cutting a wire. Now I should have a little bit more freedom with the board. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay, just disconnect the power blocks. Took another picture just to make sure that I got it right. I wish these were plug-in connectors and not these terminal type connectors. It's kind of a pain. And I'm gonna move these across now. Okay, this is the old board. I have all the connectors out of there. Now I just need to reconnect the power terminals on the new board. Alright, I got all the cables moved across. Now I just have to mount this back on the it back to the case. It wasn't easy. Probably the order that I did it in maybe was not ideal. If someone has a better way to do it, we'd be happy to hear about it. But now I'm just going to be putting the 4 screws back in that secure the board. Since these don't appear to be magnetic screws or steel screws, I can't use my magnetic screwdriver to get them started. So I'm just using my needle nose to kind of place them, and then Allen wrench to get started, and rinse and repeat. Alright, got that 4th screw in, put my ribbon cable back in, and I will get my zip ties and zip tie this back in. Okay, so all that's left to do is to put these screws back in. The screws in to the side, on the bottom, and then it'll be time to fire it up. See what happens. Alright, I have all the panels back together, all the cables connected in the back, so it's a moment of truth. Turn it on and see what happens. Looks like it lives. I don't know if you can see that or not. It says TM3D CR-10 ABL ready, so that's cool. So the system board is up, but now I need to flash the firmware. Well, no, actually, according to the kit from Tim, I believe actually I can mount the leveling sensor. So let's get started on that. Okay, I actually neglected to print out the adapter that you need to mount the leveling sensor ahead of time, so I just did that on my Flashforge Finder. Did it in sporty purple. So you just have to remove the 2 screws that hold on the hot end. And I'm trying to get this aligned. You just remove those, and then you mount the leveling sensor to it. Need some additional light. Okay, got that mounted. Like I said, just 2 screws. So when you look at the sensor itself, it sets of oops. What am I doing? It has 2 sets of nuts and washers that you thread through here. So this is how you adjust the height. This one goes like that. And the second one, okay, so I have the leveling sensor roughly in there. The instructions call for it to be about 2 millimeters above the print head, or above the hot end. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to guesstimate 2 millimeters. Alright, so that's actually below it right now, so let me do some tweaking. Okay, so the instructions say that it should be roughly 2 millimeters higher than your hot end. So it doesn't have to be precise, but that's ballpark, that's how I have it now. So I guess I need to do some cable management and plug this thing in. Okay, someone just, or not just, but someone had posted that the way that they made sure that the sensor was 2 millimeters up from the print head was by using the big wrench that comes with the CR-10, because it's 2 millimeters high. So basically, if you get the print head, or I'm sorry, the extruder on the glass, and the sensor is right on the wrench, then you should have it just about right. And I'm off a little bit, so I'm going to adjust it. Okay, I just want to go over the steps that I omitted as far as the EZABL auto leveling sensor goes. We went over how to mount it. I just have it, I don't have the wiring very nice right now. I just have it kind of tied loosely to the existing filament tube and electrical wires. At some point I'll clean that up more. As far as getting the firmware on the system, okay, there's one of two ways you can do it. You can, if you want to buy yourself an Arduino board, if you have an Arduino board, you can actually put a bootloader on your existing system board. I did not want to do that, so I bought my board from Tiny Machines 3D with a bootloader loaded. It had Marlin 1.1 and it also had EZABL loaded into that image as well. And when I looked through the instructions that came with this, I was a little bit confused because Tim wrote them to be applicable to a lot of different printers. And I was seeing steps in there that I'm like, okay, well, how do you do these things? So I emailed Tim, and evidently a lot of those things that are laid out in the instructions, they're already done for you when you download the appropriate image for your printer. So what I did is I downloaded the 1.14 image off Tiny Machine 3D, which is the latest. So actually the version I had on there already would work because it was 1.1, but it already had the EZABL code on there. But I downloaded it, and I'm going to put a little demonstration here of where you go for your print model, because first you pick the type of printer that you have and the type of mount that you have. Like mine is a stock mount. I don't have a fang coupler or anything. Mine's a stock mount. And when you select the type of mount you have, that directs you to a version of the firmware that is appropriate for your printer, so you don't have to do a lot of those things that I was talking about. So anyways, once you do that, you use a program that also is included in the archive that you download called AVR Dude SS, and you'll see the settings here. And you basically just hook your computer or your laptop up to your printer, use AVR Dude SS to load the firmware. And there's only a couple key fields that you have to be concerned with, and that's outlined on the Tiny Machine 3D site as well. I'll put a lot of links for various information that I use doing this down below in the description. Also, let's see what else. I demonstrated how you set the initial height on it to be approximately 2 millimeters. Basically, you put the fat wrench that comes with the CR-10 underneath you want to first bring the hot end all the way down to the base. Have the nuts on here. Zoom in. Have these mounting nuts loose so it can move, and then put the wrench right on the bed right underneath the sensor, and then that will allow the sensor to be 2 millimeters higher than the end of the print head. Once you have it set there, you just tighten up these nuts, and your height should be pretty much good to go. The other thing you have to do on the head is you have to adjust the sensitivity. And the way you do that is you bring your bed up to normal temperature. In my case, I brought it up to 60 degrees, and then let's see, what do you bring it down to? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, what you do is you bring the print head all the way down to the glass or to the printing surface, and then back it up 2 millimeters, so the print head is 2 millimeters off the deck. Once you do that, you want to look at this little red light here. Okay, you see that lighting up? That little red light, it'll probably be on at that point, and what you want to do is take a little flat-edged screwdriver. There's a little adjusting screw on the top, and you want to turn it counterclockwise until that light goes off. Once it goes off, you turn it clockwise again slowly until it goes back on, and You just want to make sure that once it turns on, once you pull your finger and your hand away, that it stays on, because sometimes your finger and hand will create like sort of a interference that you'll pull your finger and your hand away and that light will go off. So you want that light to stay on once you pull the screwdriver and your hand away. Once you do that, the sensitivity on the sensor should be correct. And then the final thing that I had to do was set the Z offset. And again, I'm a 3D printing novice more or less, so I had to do a lot of researching to understand how to do some of this stuff. Tim was trying to give me some information, and some of it was going over my head, and I finally sorted through it to make sense of it all. So basically what you're going to do for the Z offset is you bring the head down till it's just above the surface, and you get a piece of paper. I don't have any paper in here right now. You get a piece of paper, and it's just like what you're doing when you're leveling a bed. Basically, when you're manually leveling a bed, you want to step down the print head barely. Just keep bringing it down, bringing it down, bringing it down until you feel some friction between the print head and the paper. Once you do that, you want to see what your Z number is on your printer, and that's going to be your Z offset. It's going to show as a negative number here. But that is going to be a positive number that you enter in your Z offset for the printer, and that's how it knows when it actually is at the surface. You need that offset information in there. I added that information via Octoprint. You can also do that from the control panel as well, and the instructions on how to do that are outlined in the instructions that come with the set. But that's a very important number. Really, that was pretty much the end of it. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned, when you're connecting, this is the USB version, the Easy Connect version of EZABL. You are not only connecting power to it here, it comes with an AC adapter, which you have the power plugged in here, but also you're removing your Z-stop cable, your conventional Z-stop cable. You know, that right here, that it plugs in here, and it controls the sensor. Your EZABL sensor is taking the place of this. So part of the process is this has a little cover on it. I unplugged the wire that goes into my Z-stop sensor, and I plugged it into the little board that's inside here. Okay, so you have your power connected here, and then you also have your Z-stop wire plugged in there. That is necessary. That's another thing that that kind of went over my head at first, because I wasn't able to do anything correctly, and that was why. So you got to make sure that you do that as well. But anyways, I did some test prints last night, and the sensor seemed to work pretty well. I'm going to do some more testing today, and you know, I'll report back with anything new that I find. But I think I got it right. You do need to read through those instructions carefully. Maybe read them more than once. Again, if you are not a 3D printing veteran, some of that stuff's going to seem confusing to you, and because I know it certainly did for me. But basically, the way it works now is before it prints, and this is all set up in the firmware. Before it prints, it goes and it measures 9 spots on the platform and makes adjustments on the fly to give you as level of a print as possible. And in my test print last night, it seemed to work pretty well. So I will cross my fingers that continues to be the case. So hopefully you found this video interesting. Like I said, it was kind of helter-skelter because I was all over the place trying to figure out one part of the process and then figure out another part of the process. And I think I finally got where I needed to go. If you have any questions, feel free to bounce them my way. I'll do my best to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I would probably forward you to Tim himself. He's been helpful, you know. I haven't had any problems with him, so it's a good deal. So anyways, that's all I got for now. Till next time, Duffman out.